Brethren, we are to be conformed to the image of Christ. And that's the purpose of everything that God is doing in your life. Everything has meaning. People will sit there and go, I'm a believer, but I'm suffering so much. It just doesn't have any meaning. It has all the meaning in the world. To this you were predestined. And Peter makes it very clear something very important. In the midst of talking to the people about the trials that were being used of God to purify them, he reminds them these same types of sufferings are being suffered by the children of God all around the world. And what does he say? Why is he saying that? So that you and I won't have a pity party. So that you and I won't say, well, no one has to suffer with the stuff I have to suffer with. I'm sorry, that's just not true. All our sufferings are different. They are different. They are. The sufferings that are laid on my door may be too great for you to bear. At the same time, the sufferings that are laid at my door may be nothing for you to bear. But then again, you're not me, and God knows exactly what I need to be conformed to the image of Christ. God knows what you need. And He is working. And in knowing what you need, guess what, brethren? He knows what kind of wife you need. One of the greatest ways that the devil can get his crowbar under your house in order to tilt it over is to make you convinced or to begin to doubt that you married the wrong person. That you married the wrong person because there's so much difficulty. That is a lie, and you've got to stand against it by faith. That is a lie. So someone came into the office of a dear friend of mine down in Texas, and they said, we believe, a couple came in and said, we believe that it wasn't God's will that we get married. And my friend Randy Lowe looked at them and said, well, it's God's will now. It is God's will. Now, let me share with you something that is so very important. And if you've been married for several years, you'll acknowledge this even through gritting teeth. Now, I'm going to talk first to the men, but ladies, realize, I know that you have to suffer as much as with your husband as much as your husband has to suffer with you. Okay? So don't think I'm being one-sided. It's just we don't have time to hit probably everything that needs to be hit. If God's greatest plan is to conform you to the image of Christ, what does that mean? When you think about Jesus Christ, do you think about wrath? Do you think about judgment? Do you think about getting exactly what you deserve? No, that's not what you think about. When you think about the person of Jesus Christ, you think of unconditional love, you think of mercy, and you think of grace. That's what you think about if you think rightly when it comes to Christ. He took away all the wrath. He took away the judgment. He has set us free. When you think about Christ, that's what you think about. Now, God has given you a wife that is strong enough in the areas where she is strong so that you are not tempted beyond what you can bear. But God will also give you a wife that many times will be weak and even fail you in the very areas where you most want her to be strong. Why? How can you ever learn unconditional love if you're married to someone who meets all the conditions? How? How can you ever learn to practice grace if you're married to someone who has no need of it? How can you ever learn to practice mercy if the person closest to you never fails? You want to be like Christ? And the same thing applies to our dear sisters. You married a man who is a disappointment, has been a disappointment, if he is not now. Maybe you even had a romantic view of what marriage would be like, and you found out that he could not meet all your needs because he had no riches and glory except those borrowed. You found out that Christ had to be the one and not a man. But you see, God gave you a man to teach you something. He knows you. That's the most amazing thing that I have experienced as a truth that is written in Scripture, but I have experienced, is I look at my marriage, I look at my wife, I look at all the circumstances of it, and I go, God, you knew perfectly what I needed. You knew exactly what had to happen. You did right in every shape, form, and fashion of the Word in what you did. Oh, as you walk with Christ, believers, you're going to just look back over your life and you're going to go, God, you were right here and here and here and here and here and here. You were right in everything all the time with me. And He was with regard to your marriage. And you may be saying, but I am so miserable. Let me share with you something. Your misery, by and large, comes from unmet, unfulfilled desires and lusts, and even right desires that may be dislocated and misplaced. Great contentment comes from if your desire is first and foremost to be conformed to the image of Christ. Because then you realize that every blessing and every terrible thing you must suffer is working that. So you're never disappointed. But if you're wanting an easy life, I mean, ladies, a lot of those movies that you and even I sometimes watch from BBC, you know? What my wife calls bonnet movies. The Pride and the Prejudice and Cranford, those kind of things. You watch those things and you literally think, why am I watching this? I'm so tortured. The heroine her life is destroyed. And then all of a sudden things come out, and when you look back through it, you go, it just worked out perfectly. What a story. That's nothing. That's authored by a man. When you stand in glory and people read the story of your life, not because of you. It wasn't a story that you wrote, but when they read your life, because it was God's story and God was the author, they're going to go, this was perfect. Everything was just like it was supposed to be. Everything that person needed. That's why, dear friends, listen to me. In the ministry, for you young men going in the ministry, some of you that are in the ministry, understand this. This is why it's not always that the most noble man is exalted. It's not always that the most gifted and the most knowledgeable man is the one preaching. Sometimes it will be the man who is far more godly and knows far more that will be seated and no one will know his name. Why? Because at that time in your life, God knows exactly what you need. You see that? He knows what we all need at this moment in our life. Absolutely everything. Oh gosh, you can just literally, we have the saying, you don't put all your eggs in one basket. But in this case, put all your eggs in one basket. Give the basket to Christ. He can hold them all.